Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining the next episode of the Immergence Show. I'm Nico Farah, your host, and we are continuing our conversations about the latest and greatest in emerging tech and immersive experiences. We have had creators, strategists, developers, all sorts of talents and thought leaders in this space to come and talk about how we can use these technologies to empower creators and brands. So, as we continue this conversation, very interesting topic is actually copywriting and how this very unique and powerful job has evolved with these emerging technologies. I was recently at Augmented World Expo here in LA, and I attended one of the talks from Coca-Cola. So it was Benny Lee, Senior Manager of Global Experiential Design at Coca-Cola. And he talked about how Coca-Cola's ingredients and, the actual product hasn't changed as much over the past 140 years. But, they've been very innovative. They've been doing a lot of other cool stuff, including campaign they did around generative AI, and I think they did several campaigns, but one of them was called Create Real Magic, which was really cool. And today we have our guest, one of the winners of this great competition. So I'm excited to have Courtney with us. Thank you so much for being here with us. I would love you to introduce yourself, and then I will start with a clip from the presentation that Benny shared, and then we get into the discussion. And to our amazing audience, if you want to introduce yourself in the chat, feel free. Tell us where you're calling from. And if you have any questions or comments about the discussion, please put it in the comment section. We can see it live and respond. Okay, Courtney, tell us more about yourself and how you got into the space.
For sure. Well, thank you so much, Nico, for having me on. It's a pleasure. Everyone. My name is Cortland Perkins. Right now, I'm based out of the Dallas, Texas area. Originally from Houston, Texas. Moved around a lot growing up, and over after college, I kind of found myself in somewhat of a conundrum because a lot of my experience had all mostly been in the nonprofit space. And I always had some kind of connection to the marketing department or doing some kind of content creation or communications for those spaces. The reason being is because ever since I was a kid, I've always been known as a good writer. So I was able to kind of finesse that, so to speak, into a couple jobs straight out of college. And slowly but surely, I kind of eased my way into formally into marketing, working for a couple different organizations, and now currently working for a content creation, working for an advertising agency that's based out of Salt Lake City, Utah, called Thomas Arts, that works in healthcare advertising. So with that, I've been working formally in marketing, an advertising agency for about 3 years now, and always kind of saw myself as just a creative person who just enjoys to see beautiful stories told, both through writing and visually. And honestly, AI has kind of been my entry point into really being able to explore the visual side of my creativity. So I was able to, long story short, see the Create Real Magic contest posted last year and kind of entered it, as somewhat of a just novice person, not really so caught up in all things going on with the AI industry. It just thought it was kind of a cool thing, like most people do, and kind of jumped in it and used my expertise to try it out. And uh, lo and behold, I end up being selected as one of the winners and invited to participate in an amazing workshop that was 3 days long in Atlanta at Coca-Cola's headquarters, where I met amazing people from around the world. And that was my jump off point into the AI industry. And since then, I've been all in, exploring all the different technologies, the different tools, and yeah, that's kind of my starting point into how I got into the AI industry and using my copywriting as kind of the baseline or the foundation for my entry into this space.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And we're going to get into the details of that campaign, which I think would be very interesting to our audience. I want to say thank you to all of our amazing participants and community. Shade, Ian, calling in from Texas. Thank you for being here. Fatima from Vancouver, Canada. Warren from UK. We appreciate you, and everyone else who will be watching and contributing. So when I heard the talk that Benny had, I think it was very interesting. He even asked us, like, what do you think Coca-Cola is in the business of? And I answered experiences, and surprising, that was the answer. It's not necessarily the beverage or any other products that companies are doing. It's not that tangible item. It's about how they make us feel. That's mostly the discussion about branding. Is about that emotional connection that we make, and that's how we make a lot of our purchasing decisions. I heard like 85% of our decisions are generally emotional based, so that's quite interesting. So I'm going to share a couple minutes clip of the presentation regarding to this specific campaign, and then we dive into it deeper. Awesome. So let me share my screen and we talk about that. So you can tell us more, Cortland, what is happening here?
Yeah, so Coca-Cola graciously, I would say, offered up their assets to the general public for the most part to say, hey, in partnership with OpenAI and the tool, as many of you know about Dolly, using those assets to create advertisements to kind of push the limits on what is possible and what does it look like if we kind of decentralize these assets to be able to be used by anybody to create content. So I was a part of that, and being able to use those Coca-Cola assets from the brand, any of the branding, and kind of even some of their older using assets from even some of their older campaigns, and kind of bringing it to the today's age with with AI. So that's kind of what was being shown there, was this being able to kind of modify and utilize those assets for that Create Real Magic campaign.
And that's not very common because brands are usually very concerned about their assets, and they want to keep it close to their heart. So that seems pretty interesting. So I'm going to share my screen, about your presentation, and then we get into deeper dive of all of that. And yeah, we have great comments here so far. Nice work. Congratulations. Yeah, talk about the ownership as well. Yeah, we will get to that. Thank you, Chris, for being here. Sorry, the screen is a little bit messed up. I don't know what version of PowerPoint I need to have, but it's not perfect. So let's dive into the campaign. Tell us more on how you kind of got into this and how others have been, using these assets. And tell us a little bit more about the behind the scenes.
For sure. So initially, when the Create Real Magic campaign went out, it was, sent out to anybody to be able to use a custom made tool that in partnership with OpenAI that specifically allowed you to have access to Coke assets and then use those assets in generative images. So you could obviously, you can go over to the next slide. I could show just the asset that I entered into the competition. So that was prompted in March of 2023. And I recently did the same prompt. And with today's kind of upgrades to Dolly, and just kind of show you the contrast and really how fast things have changed, even just in a year's time. But initially, that was my initial entry, and along with others, and we were selected to be a part of a workshop, which really was very exploratory. It was in partnership with Bain and Company, in partnership with NVIDIA was there, a couple other brands like High Snobiety and Bathing Ape, based out of Japan, was also present at this workshop, and we all were just there together, kind of exploring, what are the possibilities of what AI can do in the creative or in marketing space. And through that, we were able to help Coke with their campaigns. For some of you may have saw that Coke also launched a Christmas card campaign at the end of last year, where the people were able to again use Coke assets to create customized and personalized Christmas cards that use AI, and they but also use Coke as kind of a platform to not only promote Coke's brand, but also you have this personal touch of your own pictures or your own messages that you want to send to your family. So overall, this is a very, as of last year, very exploratory workshop, just to kind of put into kind of to express or try to examine what are the possibilities. And then since then, we've been able to kind of see more of what AI and marketing coming together as partners, as opposed to being enemies or
Oh,
against each other, what that could look like.
totally. So, in regards to your submission, kind of, can you tell us like how much work you had to do, how many iterations you went through, and then also how did they select the winners? Was this voted by the audience, or they selected it themselves based on certain criteria? Yeah, and also who were other participants than winners?
Yeah, great question. So I'm not exactly sure. I know it wasn't a kind of a crowdsourced thing. It was either people who oversaw the competition or Coke, people that we interacted with who were on the kind of generative AI team who selected the winners. As far as what my work on it, honestly, if I'm going to be completely honest, the amount of work I put into that wasn't very extensive at the time. It was literally just thinking about, I saw Coke as this brand that obviously classic is its one of its tag words or taglines. And I kind of drew upon that as for inspiration to kind of draw on the idea of this. One thing I learned while I was there is that, well, one of the early Coke designs for the bottle was based off of these dresses, these Hubble skirt dresses that used to be worn back in the early 1900s. So drawing from that inspiration, that's where I got the kind of woman in a dress um, picture, and then from there just able to kind of craft that into something that I thought would be interesting, or a good take on the kind of classic tagline that Coke is all about. And then but honestly, I don't think mine was even one of the better ones among the group. It was people from we have friends from the UK were there, Malaysia, Denmark, Canada, I think Brazil, Portugal, I would say, and yeah, it was a diverse group of people from all around the world. It's around like 15 to 20 of us, I think, and yeah, just like us again, as I said, uh,
That's
the
awesome. Oh, I'm sure you're being humble, and this is definitely beautiful and different from everything we have seen from Coca-Cola, and so this is awesome. And so, in terms of like that opportunity of it was so empowering to bring all of you to the headquarters and educate and inform you. Can you tell us a little bit more about what kind of high level stuff you guys learned, and kind of in terms of like partnerships or collaboration or support, what did you experience?
Yeah, I would say the big takeaway that we all learned was really just how even there's a study that came out somewhat recently from McKinsey Company that says that 70% post the pandemic, that 70% of most consumers expect the people they or the companies that they purchase from to do something that personally is for them, or it feels as if what they're doing is personally for them. And I think what we learned and what we saw just with what AI can do in the advertising and marketing space is really hone in on personalization of how we market to people based on data and consumer insights that reach people in a specific way. I think, as we all can see, we're in such a content heavy age. As every
Yep.
company is kind of in the content creation business in some ways, like whether they may sell towels or they may sell, sunscreen. In some ways, their job is to kind of create content that garners engagement. And if that's the case, if that is kind of what people are doing in the marketing space, there's going to be a greater need to kind of capture people's attention with specific ads that reach them for their specific needs. And a lot of times, ads are feel very generic, and the story is kind of lacking. And I think what we took away from in that experience through the partners that we were able to talk to, just especially NVIDIA and the huge database that they're forming in the space that they're carving in the AI space, is just how to use that data to get even more granular, more specific to the people that you want to reach, and from a marketing perspective, and also to work alongside these tools, that these tools require human input and require human experiences. As great as these, especially the image generation tools are becoming, and even the video generation tools, at the end of the day, storytelling is not going away. And that's because human experiences are required to tell good stories. And that's one thing that the AI or the technology will never be able to have, is a full human experience. So with that, I think that was kind of some of the big kind of high level takeaways from that workshop. And then coming out of that was just kind of taking that information and how do we apply it uh, from brand to brand.
Thank you. And our audience, Ian, is agreeing with you totally. I appreciate that. Cool. So it was a great experience. I'm sure you built great connections. So now let's talk about kind of like, what you do on a daily basis, the copywriting, and, kind of how that has evolved in regards to these emerging techs. A lot of times when they make a list of jobs that will be taken over by AI, like copywriting is unfortunately one of them. So I'm really curious what your thoughts are, how things have changed for you in the industry, and talking to your peers, and where do you see this is all going?
Absolutely. So there is that kind of fear out there, is that is copywriting dead, basically, because of what AI can do and how quickly it can do it. And I would just say no, just flat out. One of the reasons, because as I've experienced with my own creations and my own expression of these different tools, again, human experience is required in order to uh, input into these tools so that they work well. Is one thing if to say something works, as in, yes, AI can write a ad for you. Yes, AI can even at this point write a book for you, but the quality of that book or the quality of that ad is going to always lie upon the person making a decision and pushing the buttons and prompting these things. And that requires skill, that requires, again, human experience, that requires a lot, sometimes education on, and also at the end of the day, from a consumer standpoint, it requires those consumer insights in order to really create something that is effective. So while AI has the capabilities to do things that copywriters do, it's still not the copywriter. It's still not the person that's required to uh, give these things life, give these images the story that's needed to go along with it. Because things that may look beautiful or even sound great from a writing standpoint still have to be effective in the world, in the real world. So I definitely think that one thing that I've used AI for, as far as as a writer and as someone who's creating images and videos and things of that nature, is what AI does do a good job of is it gives you access to perspectives and information that you just wouldn't have without either going to school for a long time, or for example, I've seen plenty of people use AI to, like, write from a writing standpoint, to write in various perspectives. So if I wanted AI to write from the perspective of someone who, like, one of my favorite writers, Toni Morrison, AI can draw from all the data and all the books that Toni Morrison has ever written and use that to kind of give her voice to something. That's a unique thing that you then can use for your own copywriting, your own content creation, and then being able to edit that so that it fits your specific needs. But I just think that that's one way in which the perspectives that AI kind of gives you access to that you wouldn't have. It definitely just kind of supercharges, I think, the writing process and the content creation process.
Yeah, and we all need the inspirations. We need inspirations from other creatives and, every other existing information. So previously, you would go to a library and, like read all the books to find material. But this is really accelerating. And to the point that you mentioned, you have to have the background and understanding. I think this is very unique and important. I was at Game Developers Conference, and there were a lot of great developers and creatives that didn't love the AI artists, and they thought they're taking their jobs without having the background. But from my experience, like running the fashion DAO and being around so many amazing creatives, the most successful creatives or AI artists are actually traditional artists and creatives with so much knowledge about the history of art and whatever their niche is, and also like just having the taste and ability to curate. I don't know if you think curation is necessarily a good word now when we work with AI or creation. But either way, I think you have to have familiarity, taste, and experience to actually create good outcome. Otherwise, it might happen once in a while, but it's not going to be consistent. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. I think that's spot on. I think, especially there's, I think at this point it's a myth out there that, especially AI creators of whether it be images or videos, or some people are doing short films. I've done a couple myself at this point, that it's as simple as, typing a sentence that you just, boom, you have this beautiful thing that everybody can say, wow, you made that. And all you did was write, 4 words. And it's the furthest thing from the truth, that the high quality AI stuff that people are, posting oftentimes is hours and hours of not only iterations from, a tool like Midjourney, but also its skills in Pro Presenter, its skills in Photoshop, its skills in various Premiere, was what I meant to say earlier. As far as like a video editing tool, it's all these different things, After Effects, and honestly, for me, another point of what AI I think I'm an example of is, like, I'm somebody who kind of saw myself as a good writer, and I used to draw when I was younger
Yeah.
and previous to a few years ago, and that was kind of the it. I thought I kind of put a cap on myself because of my lack of jobs in working at, and being able to do work with certain brands, and kind of saw myself in a certain light. But post the Coca-Cola experience, now I see myself as an art director. I see myself as somebody who has the capabilities to contribute to these larger creative campaigns, because I now have had to, because of AI, go back and learn, you know, Photoshop, go back and learn Premiere Pro, go back and learn After Effects and these different things that now, because I have this experience with, producing these things via various AI tools, I now have had to, been inspired to learn kind of the, I guess, the basics of certain creative tools as well. So I think that ultimately, I think that all these things require taste, require the experience you're talking about, and the best and most quality things are going to come from people who really are artists and really are uh, good writers and really are people who have the creative chops to produce this stuff that I think will really be effective.
Totally. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And yeah, I'm sure our audience agrees. This is so much more than that. It's just another tool in our tool set, but it's accelerating us much faster to be the best version of ourselves. So that's awesome. So let's talk about, and I would love to get into like what tools you prefer and you use, but before that, I want you to go through your slides, make sure you tell your story before we get into other questions.
No, for sure. And I think that here, just communicating what we just been talking about, that, copywriting is not going anywhere, because I think at the core of copywriting is storytelling, and storytelling is eternal. I think that at the end of the day, all human experiences require good stories to inspire people and move them to action. The emotions that we want to evoke from people or provoke from people via our marketing campaigns requires that human experience be involved, and that's never going anywhere. So just to reiterate that, what copywriting is to me is it's good storytelling, and because good storytelling is not going anywhere, I think it's an eternal thing. I
Mhm.
think AI is a helpful partner to join us in storytelling.
So I actually have a question on this because I think it's a very controversial discussion. Like, what is this story for a brand? We often think it is like how they were founded. Um, but it's funny, I actually came across this concept that there's narrative and then there's a story. This was told at the Augmented World Expo as well. And their definition was story means why your product is important, and then narrative, I think, is like why they should be like, why is this a priority, like better than everything else. So just curious, what is your definition of storytelling, and what's the definition of a story for a brand?
That's a great question. Um, I would say I think the definition of a story to the brand is what you want people to remember you for. Um,
Mm,
I think the stories that we tell ultimately, like think about a good story you heard, something about that story kind of resonated with you, and the reason why you remember it is because certain characters or a meaning or a message in that story kind of was stuck with you. And I think that's ultimately what you're trying to do in storytelling. In from a brand perspective, is leaving people with something to have either a symbol, or that's, it's why logos are important, or like, or even it's, the messaging, it's what
yeah.
you're leaving with someone to carry with you when they leave your brand or they leave your presence, so to speak. And it's whatever that thing is that you're remembered by is the story you told. So I think that's the kind of key component to storytelling, that you want to
Yeah, making
leave
this
an impression.
making memorable moments. And Ian made a cool comment. You're in the business of CAS, copywriting as a service. So that's interesting. All right, so let's talk about this really interesting example. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, so I saw this as just an example of just kind of the ideation kind of supercharge, I would say, that AI is able to give. So this is a concept campaign for a brand that I like because I prefer oat milk versus regular milk. And yeah, just showing how an example for how a brand could utilize AI and image generation tools for something like this. That obviously there's other ways to go about getting a message across about plant-based milk. But how cool is it? And not only and also just how efficient it is to be able to use a tool like for these images I use Midjourney uh, to create use a tool like that to be able to create these images that obviously resonate with the messaging of trying to promote plant-based milk, but also in this way that's really cost effective as well. The campaign idea behind these images is to sip smooth and choose oat. So it's this idea that drinking oat milk is cool. It's hip, or it's in the what people are doing now, as opposed to drinking cow's milk. So yeah, so there's just kind of example of just the ways
Yeah,
AI can kind of empower a creative campaign in this particular way.
I love it. I'm vegan. I'm all about this. But I also think like the beauty of art is that you can have your own interpretation. I was thinking something different. I was thinking, oh, cows are like us. They have a family, they have a life.
Mhm.
They want to enjoy life as well. Why are we, you know, taking advantage of them, or, killing them or whatever? So, like it's interesting. The beauty of art is that we all have our own perspective and interpretations. So that's great. And I would
Sure.
love to hear from our audience, what was your impression of this beautiful campaign or visuals? Yeah, would love to see in the comments what you all think about it. Cool. So this is actually a very important thing. Like I noticed on TikTok, a lot of creatives are putting out ideas, and Instagram as well, ideas about what they think the brands should do, and kind of now in a much more cost effective manner they can bring their ideas to life, and then kind of pitch to the brands how they can contribute and collaborate. So this is really empowering, because like you mentioned, you did a couple of short movies and stuff like that. It wasn't possible before. So this is really empowering, if you think about it. And we see Chick-fil-A, Big Mad, LOL. Yes, yes, drink more oat milk. Totally. Thank you for your contribution. So let's dive into the next one.
Yeah, so I don't know if it will show, but this was actually a short kind of hype video for one of the Sony's newer cameras, the A7. Not big into cameras person, but one thing, again, this is out of a side note, I've learned a lot about lenses and camera angles because I've been using these various AI tools, and you want to get different shots from different perspectives. So that's kind of was the inspiration behind the tool. But I'm not sure if the video will play, but it's a short hype video that
Is
kind of
it?
shows
Oh
uh,
yeah.
the
Okay.
camera being used and from different angles, and also shows the vibrancy of the colors that the camera.
Sorry, I don't know. I don't have QuickTime not available. I don't know what that is. It's a
Yes,
software that I should have had. I'm sorry.
no problem, no problem. But yeah, that and all other stuff is things that I'll definitely put in
So
my.
what did you use to make this?
So for this is run. So I used image creation was done with Mid Journey, and then
Hmm.
I'd use the runway uh, video generator to image to video generator for the different shots.
Very cool. I don't know if you want to try sharing your screen if you're missing this, so we can do that. Just give it a try. While I read a great comment from our audience, Warren says, if you could pick a brand that represents you, your personality, and all that you stand for, what brand would it be? That's a very interesting question. I'd love to hear everyone's response to that. Warren, what is yours? I think
Yeah,
I need to give it some thought. What do you think, Cortland? Do you have a brand that you resonate a lot with?
that's a tough one because I feel like in the marketing space, especially as a freelancer, some of what my brand is who I am and the type of clients I want to work with. So I don't know if there's like one specific brand that I think encapsulates my personality. Some brands that I think I like are just some of the main ones that other people resonate with, like Nike and their kind of iconic ways of just promoting athleticism. I'm a former college athlete myself, so that obviously resonates with me. So Nike's kind of a low hanging fruit one for sure.
And
But
the
another one,
concept, sorry, to the Nike point, I think the concept that everyone is an athlete, I
right?
think that's very empowering. I mean, I don't know how much of these are like, just marketing or truly believing in it. But, certain empowerment, you talked about the storytelling is about things that are memorable. That is very memorable. But yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Next, brands you were mentioning.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say maybe another one that does resonate with me is there's the brand Black Girl Sunscreen that really resonates with me because it's something that everybody uses when, especially in the hot Texas heat that we have here, but it's something that this young lady saw the need and the kind of lack where there was sunscreen specifically for skin tones that are darker. So being able to create a brand and a product that not only serves a specific need, but also kind of appeals to the masses about, and it's easy to get behind. So I like brands that kind of have serve needs and have this kind of diversity and inclusion kind of bent to them, but also the kind of universal reality that, hey, we all need sunscreen, we all want to be protected from the sun and UV rays. So I think they have a really cool brand in how they promote, black women, and how they promote black skin and its need to be protected, and also just how they fit into just the reality of the need that's there to be protected.
So you basically resonate with the concept of inclusivity and caring for, underrepresented individuals. So that's totally powerful. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's not necessarily a brand, like a product brand, but like certain individuals I look up to. And, for example, Alexander Ocasio Cortez. I like how bold she is, how fearless she is, and like that's how I would want to be. But yeah, I would love to hear from our audience as well. Shade, Ian, others, Warren, yourself. Tell us what's your favorite brand that you resonate with. This is a really cool question and very creative. And thank you, Mustafa, for being here. And yeah, let's move on. Do you want to try sharing your screen, or you want to continue?
Yeah, we could just continue.
Okay, cool. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, one thing I really love about the potential with from a marketing standpoint with AI and image generation is the ability to for brands to kind of train AI to learn their aesthetics and then being able to reproduce that aesthetic very easily over and over again without extra legwork. I imagine to the picture on the left, this picture of Dwayne Wade. He's promoting Versace glasses that he's partnership with them with, and being able to kind of start there, where obviously there was a photo shoot and lighting and all these people that were required to kind of produce that original image, and then for potentially now with using Midjourney, I use Midjourney to train the using the style reference tool, be able to kind of train the tool to then reproduce an image that's pretty similar, or if not even more so spot on to for other parts of that campaign that won't require all the legwork of getting somebody who's super busy like Dwayne Wade to come back and like reshoot all these different images of the sunglasses, the glasses, but being able to kind of produce more for social and things of that nature. So just as it, so again, just an example of just how you can train these tools like a Midjourney to replicate a brand's kind of look and style and feel, and be able to reproduce that really efficiently.
That's awesome. Yes, we all know how much time, money, effort these photo shoots take, and especially as the creative director or art director, it will be hard to like iterate through your ideas. And we had really great guests before, like Ope mentioned, how she can't really do to the go far with her creativity because so many other people are at that photo shoot dependent on that, and like they have their own perceptions of how they want to represent themselves, especially models. So with AI, really there is no ceiling with your ideas and creativity. So that's really powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Oh, what is this?
Yeah. So another. So I'm a '90s kid. So I grew up in the '90s and remember the infamous commercials for Gushers. And one of the things that they used to promote it was they had these individuals who's once they ate the fruit snack, their heads would turn into the fruit, the flavor that they ate from. So that's a an old campaign, but this again, this is just an example of how AI allows to kind of use the data that the tools have on that campaign, the images that they have from back then in the '90s and early 2000s, to then bring it to the forefront of to now and kind of reimagine vintage ideas. So again, this is just another example of just exploring uh, a lot of different ways in which you can repurpose or not repurpose, but yeah, repurpose kind of older ways of from marketing campaigns, and then being able to kind of muse off of those, use it as inspiration. But again, that was just me showing another way in which you can use AI to kind of, revisit, quote unquote, old ideas and bring it into the 21st century.
I love it. I think that watermelon hasn't used sunscreen enough. But this is really cool. I love it. Yeah, you can really go far with these creative tools. That's awesome. And let's go through the next one, explore famous artist styles.
Yeah. So again, I know the whole AI artist versus real artist debate is a real debate, and I'm not necessarily trying to speak into that. But what I am trying to speak into is just that the ability for AI to really allow for people who aren't as familiar with various art styles. For example, these images are based off of the photography of a French photographer by the name of Gilbert Garcin, and his surrealism is really famous for how he was able to especially use stairs and kind of create these, you know, uh, ethereal, environments with his photography. And that's something that I was able to draw inspiration from and then create these images that featured, black people within those images, because that's something that wasn't something of
Hmm.
emphasis in his photography. So again, this is just an example of just the way you can use. You could explore how to incorporate, impressionism or these various art styles that we know of from that artists use, and then how do those things can be used to, make various AI images for your even your own personal use, or it could be commercial use. But again, that was just a example of just the way you can train AI to, you know, to use different art styles in its image creation.
That's very innovative. Yeah, so you can use it for even inclusivity perspective. Um, that's awesome. And I mean, I know Ope also, again, I keep talking about her. She's the queen, as Warren said. She also, was trying to like make sure a lot of the visuals we're getting from Midjourney and these other tools, especially around like what's the definition of beauty and all those things are very biased. And so and now it's time to use these tools for better. So I love what you're doing with that. Cool. Let's talk about this one, the history.
Yeah, so this is just an example of how. So obviously, there's historical things that we've all heard about from books or seen documentaries about. And there's, a reality that what we can do now through being able to prompt these tools based on information that we have about a certain time period or a certain event. And you can create images to kind of tell a visual narrative about things that we wouldn't have been able to see kind of brought to life in this way. So this is actually from images, Juneteenth just passed, which is celebrates the official and final end of slavery here in Americas, as the final last slaves here in Texas found out that the Emancipation Proclamation had passed. So obviously, because of the time period, there's not a lot of images of what the first Juneteenth was like. So I used information from history of what was going on that day to in the historical accounts to create images of what it might have looked like the day people found out that obviously historic news. So that just shows just ways in which maybe I
Wow.
can imagine the NAACP, or I can imagine the History Channel, or uh, brands and companies like that utilizing AI to kind of bring to the forefront images of people or events or things that would, without AI, you obviously you could have, you could guess what these things could look like, but we have some really good accounts, written accounts. So now you can change that writing into visual accounts of some of these events. So that's just another example of
Wow,
just
that's really powerful. I have not seen much of this use case. So kudos to you for that. This is really a very unique and powerful use case. It just reminded me of also another company I saw in the VR space, but kind of going with the idea of bringing history to life and tell better stories. So they partnered with the Louvre Museum and brought the Mona Lisa kind of story to life. They tried to like use the only image that we have of Mona Lisa, and then like try to look deep into what's the background, what's happening, and then create a VR experience that then because it's so hard to I haven't been to it, but I know it's so hard to like get in front of that image, or you don't get much time to really look at it. So they used that technology to like bring it into life, this story that of who this person is, what was the background, and so on. And so like truly these tools are helping us tell better stories, and really empowering, especially for the topics like Juneteenth and a lot of the other powerful moments in the history that needs to be talked about even more. So thank you for that.
absolutely. Mhm. Yeah, and these are other just concept brand images. Just that again, one of the things that I think is important, and where I felt almost like obligated post the kind of Coca-Cola experience to contribute to this space, was that I just think that overall, just my presence as a black man showing up in this space is important, and not
Yes.
only as an individual, but also to help train these tools on incorporating diverse uh, data in what how they produce not only images, but the even writing, writing in such a way that reflects a more diverse demographic as opposed to a more homogeneous demographic. So again, these are just some of the things that I think is important for the AI space to incorporate, is the inclusion of people of color in not only image generation, but also the who's inputting the data that we're then using to do whatever we're trying to do with AI, whether that's various business related tasks, or if it's just things we're doing for our own personal use or fun. But yeah, this is just again my contribution to this space is not only with my presence, but also my experiences that I bring, and how that's unique at times to a lot of what is seen as normative.
Wow, I love that. This is truly remarkable. You know, like we often think of like this is just another way for us to like create more and maybe make more money, but you are truly, you know, focused on the impact, and we all have a responsibility, as you said. It's so easy to say like, you know, let the tech do its thing, but we have to be part of this revolution. Otherwise, we will be left out again. So we don't
Sure.
want that. Awesome. Cool. And Ian is mentioning check out Uncut digital art platform. Have you checked that out before?
No, I have not. So I'll definitely be looking into that. Appreciate that.
Awesome, awesome. And I know Warren also talked about it on the episode he was with us. So yeah, I personally haven't had the chance, but seems like a great platform. Cool. What's happening with Obama?
That actually is a animation I created using
Uh,
After Effects, but I'm not sure if it's gonna play because of
oh
the.
no.
But it's all.
Oh
Oh, there it is.
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, there it is. So yeah, and that's just again. I think that what's really cool about what AI is capable of doing is that it all starts with good writing. That writing is kind of obviously my entry point into this space as a copywriter, but also I think for all of us, I think that just realizing the importance of story and writing well, it's fundamental. So at the end of the day, while all these new technologies are continue to get better, continue to blow our minds with how crisp the images look or how great the video animations are. I think that is just important for me as not only as a writer, but just for all of us, as we, teach kids, even about how to use these tools as time goes on, that reading and writing is still fundamental, and good writing is kind of at the core of being able to write good prompts. So,
Yes, and also like potentially learning from, you know, like I realized I became lazy just asking ChatGPT to like modify what I'm writing. But then I started doing it a little bit differently. Like whatever is modifying, I'm gonna incorporate it like word by word manually rather than just copy pasting the whole thing. This way I'm training myself to be better with these tools. So there are so many ways we can benefit from them, and especially for the younger generation, I think they're using it in their homeworks all the time. So how can we make sure they're actually learning from it as well?
right.
Awesome. And to the topic of Uncut, our audience are saying I should interview Carlos. I would love to get to know him and talk about the Uncut platform. So let's move on to Toni Morrison.
Yeah, and I think we've kind of hit this point enough at this point. But Toni Morrison is just one of my favorite writers. She passed away a few years ago, but she kind of captures what I think I'm getting at as far as the importance of story and why that's so essential and what that means. So just kind of she gives this charge in this speech lecture that she gave just to make up a story, not only for your sake but for our sake and yours to forget the name of the street. Tell us what the world has been to you in dark places, in the light. Don't tell us what to believe, what to fear. Show us belief. Wide skirt and the stitch that unravels fears cold. And basically just getting to the point of saying that just when you tell a story, you're telling us from your experience and just how important that experience is and how much we not only is important, it's important we need it. So she was someone who advocated for Black writers' experiences to be valued and uplifted. But I think it is encouragement for all writers and all of us who, especially in this AI space, just to bring your true self into it and what you bring to the table from your background to whether it's family history to ethnicity or beliefs, even religious or non-religious. I think all those things are valuable things to bring into what you create because I think it ends up capturing people and moving people, because that's where the story is. That's what you're, want to be ultimately remembered by, and we don't want to lose that story element or that personal and very I think even spiritual, I would say, element to how we create, and because the people that we're creating for do have these values, and they do have um, these experiences that they've been through, and being able to connect to those experiences is important. So
Wow, this is a very good high note that we're ending this conversation on. I love it because, we are all unique individuals. Our experiences, our insights, our points of view, everything defines what we will be creating. And so, this is the powerful thing that you were mentioning. Like, AI is just a tool, and then depending on how we use it, our outcome will be totally different. And yes, this is really powerful and empowering, to know how much control we still have, on the outcomes. And I would love everyone to follow you, support you, tell us more about what's coming up next for you, how everyone can support you.
yeah, absolutely. So definitely follow me or on LinkedIn. I post regularly marketing ideas and concept campaigns there pretty frequently. On Instagram at culture.peopleai is where I post a lot of my I would say artwork. It's things I do digital prints and custom logos and things of that nature. There, that it's more of my kind of, you want to follow the fun side of me, the less focused on marketing. Just kind of posting the various things that my come out from my imagination. And my email, if you want to talk, you partner on anything, I definitely love to hear from you. And as far as what I hope to do is continue just creating. I think that right now I'm in a phase of just creating things that I enjoy and that I like. And if someone else agrees, then I would love to work with you. So I'm not trying to, I don't really have a major goals right now of, working with specific brands. While there's some brands that I would love to work with, but definitely just over the past year or so, just availing myself to any creative possibility. I want to continue creating. I want to continue inspiring and using these tools as kind of my vehicle to do that. And yeah, if you want to follow my journey, that's where you can follow me.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll make sure we put the links in the chat as well. I loved this conversation. I think your point of view and perspective, both on the copywriting side and also like, being a person of color, this all makes everything you do so unique, so special, and so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing everything with us. Thanks to our amazing audience for always being there for us, our amazing community, Warren, Ian, and everyone else, Shade, whoever has been watching, Fatima, and whoever will be watching the recording. We appreciate you. We love you. And please give us comments and suggestion on what you want to see next. So next week on Tuesday at 9 a.m. PST, like always, we have Nodo from MetaView. He's empowering brands by kind of creating a hub for different, immersive experience platforms and gaming platforms. So another interesting discussion coming up. Make sure to tune in, and all of our discussions are going to be available as a recording as well. Thank you so much, Cortland, for your time and your insights. And I can't wait to see more of your creations.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.